to talk to you about intangibles. What's your name?
Steve.
And where are you from?
I'm from Georgia.
It's nice to meet you. I grew up in a town 40 miles outside of New York City. In high school, I didn't enjoy physics as much as I enjoyed European history. And I think it's very important for us not to separate STEM education from the humanities. What would be the purpose for the internet if we had nothing to communicate? What would be the purpose for renewable energy if we didn't care about the sustainability of ourselves and our biological counterparts? With every technological initiative must come a philosophical purpose. When I first arrived at Georgia Tech, I began work at the Benn T Zinn Combustion lab. My research here has given me an understanding of fuel behavior, combustor design, and both their effect on equipment life and max system limits before irreversibly damaging combustion dynamics occurs. But these are fundamental determinants of an engine's reusability and sustainability, which can change the way we power our homes or fly across continents. Again, embedded in something as technical as turbulent flame speed research is a philosophical purpose. When I first arrived at college, I also joined the Georgia Tech Ramblin Rocket Club. At the first meeting I attended, a club officer brought in his high-power rocket. It lay there at the front of the room like a beacon, and I didn't know how I could possibly build such a thing, but I decided I would. So I brought home a 7-foot-tall mail tube and told myself it would become a high-power rocket by the end of the semester. That year I built 2 high-power rockets, one that flew to 3,000 feet, and the other to 5,000 feet. For me, these quests served as my first steps towards just one day designing that rocket that penetrates our stratosphere. A year later, at an executive board meeting, our vice president brought up an idea as if it was nothing. To send a rocket to space. It only took him that one-sentence intro. In that moment, I knew, I believed, and heck, I wanted so bad to make it a reality. In that moment, I wanted this to happen because, like any technological initiative, each of us needs a philosophical purpose of our own. And this is mine. I believe there is a compelling interest for us to reach beyond our boundaries to harness space exploration's inspiring and potentially uniting power. I believe in rocket reusability as our only means to low-cost, high-frequency launches and ultimately to becoming a true spacefaring civilization. I believe in commercial spaceflight as the destined means of human exploration, and that human exploration is the only true source for inspiration. As a young adolescent, I chose to become an aerospace engineer not because it's cool, or because it would give me an invaluable skill set. I chose this path because when I stare up at the stars each night, I believe in an opportunity for humanity to collaborate, innovate, and to unite. It has always been in our human nature to explore further. The 1803 Louisiana Purchase opened up the American West. 90 years later, when Frederick Jackson's frontier thesis declared the frontier closed, we inherently looked forward to the next thing, the next frontier. And so it became misconceived that there was one last thing to conquer, the final frontier, space. Nothing could be further from the truth. What's worth noting here is that we can't really imagine the idea of infinity, but we can imagine that it's greater than one. Space and the universe is the closest thing to the idea of infinity that we know. This is GRB 090423, the farthest celestial body we have ever viewed. It's 30 billion light years away. Light travels fast enough to circle the Earth 7 times in 1 second. A light year is the distance light travels in 1 year, or 32 million seconds. This thing is 30 billion light years away. And there's probably something 30 billion light years beyond that. But what if we lived on GRB 090423? Then the farthest thing we could conceivably view is Earth. This is the farthest picture ever taken of Earth, a comparatively mere 60 million miles away, or the equivalent of 0.00001 light years away. If we lived on GRB 090423, Earth's millions of frontiers would lie unconquerable on a speck of dust, 30 billion light years away. So is space the final frontier, or a conglomerate of infinite first frontiers? Is any frontier on Earth significant enough to be more than the zero frontier? If something is so small as Earth, as small as the Louisiana Purchase, is it existent at all? Believe it or not, I'm not here to tell you that we're small. I'm here to tell you that thoughts of our tininess shouldn't discourage us. We should embrace the power of the human mind, and with it, the ability to inquire about life and how we can find philosophical purposes in our own. See, in my town, every student, every teenager goes to college, but most none of them dream. To them, their options are who is surrounding them: lawyers, stock analysts, doctors. And there's nothing wrong with these noble professions. But to me, with so many fundamental questions unanswered, I had no other option but to pursue a different course. One that wouldn't necessarily guarantee me the biggest paycheck, but it would guarantee that I could change the world if I dreamed big enough. Last October, Ramblin Rocket Club rolled out Project K-17, whose sole purpose, Project Prometheus, whose sole purpose is to breach the commonly accepted border of space known as the Kármán line, 100 kilometers, or 328,000 feet above your heads. Our research payload won't be large. We won't deploy anything into orbit, and our team of engineers won't receive course credits or paychecks. The chair of the School of Aerospace, rightfully concerned, asked me, "What's your end game?" My answer? To inspire students everywhere with their expectation-crushing potential. To produce the 30 best engineers at Georgia Tech. For Georgia Tech to be the first university to launch a rocket to space. To prove that America, even at the student level, possesses the intellectual capital to produce liquid rocket engines. To give Georgia Tech access to space. Design once impossible experiments, and to collect results that expand our way of thinking beyond here on Earth. With Project Prometheus, we're taking one small step from it, closer to the proliferation of space exploration. After all, that's my dream, to innovate and proliferate the exploration of space. Imagine if I had asked Steen where she was from, and she had answered not Canton, or Georgia, or Afghanistan, or even Asia. What if she had responded, Earth? And what if I had replied, awesome, I'm from Mars, or Venus, or even Andromeda? That would be an inspiring world to live in. Surely it's hard to convince the public and politicians that space is important when ISIS is propagating support into North Africa, as Ebola continues to kill thousands of children in Sierra Leone. But to me, space is compelling even when thinking of the problems unsolved in a rocket's wake. Imagine if the children of the world looked up and watched launch vehicles lift off into the cosmic abyss. They'd be inspired to be a part of that, and to contribute not only to the exploration of space, but to the technologies discovered along the way that could perhaps cure Ebola back home, or enhance the treatment of disease around the world. Imagine an extremist fighter who without losing confidence in his beliefs, expands his mind beyond the bounds of today, tomorrow, in the world on which he stands. What if he realizes that we're not 196 countries or 270 large religious factions? We're one species, on one planet. When I dream of expanding access and lowering the cost of space exploration, I realize that it might not give us a complete understanding of a universe as vast as ours. When I ask, why are we here? I don't see the improbability of finding an answer as a reason not to explore further. When assessing the philosophical purposes in our lives, we must realize that something doesn't need to be substantiated with hard tangibles to make it important. We shouldn't need short-term economic incentive to treat space exploration or anything else founded in our very human nature as a priority. Christopher Columbus couldn't get sponsored for his maiden voyage because the profits weren't foreseeable. But the continent he stumbled upon is the one that you now sit in, with sprawling cities and economic markets. It's those who invest in the intangibles, the philosophies, the dreams, that at least have a better understanding of why we are here. So no matter your philosophy or your dream, follow it without questioning.